Hey everybody, welcome into the Rant. I guess we can't see ourselves, but they can probably fix that back in production. Bill, what's the old line? I just flew in. I just got back from Miami. I just flew in. My arms are tired. My arms are tired. There you go. Hey, there we are. Caden McFarland alongside Bill Haston. Had Big Al Jerkins with me all week long, and that was fun, man. Mutual buddy of ours. It was good to see Big Al there.
No, Al
living it up.
No, I'm sure Al got a kick out of coming out of retirement.
He got to come out of retirement
on a temporary basis.
That's right.
On a big event basis.
On a real big event basis. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about that Oklahoma-Alabama Orange Bowl college football playoff semifinal that was over in a hurry, and then the Sooners made a game of this thing, and it was really admirable what they did. I want to start with this, though. So Lincoln Riley, after the game, said, we're going to get one of those skinny trophies, talking about the college football playoff trophy. And I love his bravado. And OU fans, I know they're sky high about having this guy's head coach, and they should be. He's the best offensive mind in the country. He's got a great approach with regard to recruiting, great energy, great vision, smart guy, programs in great hands. But I can't help but feel like they're further away from winning a national title than I thought prior to the game. How about you?
Well, I mean,
and I'll explain why in a bit, but
but the next could be 3 days, could be 3 weeks. Will be fascinating to see what's going to happen with that hire at the defense coordinator position.
Hire.
Oh, it is. It's the biggest hire since Lincoln Riley was hired. I would say. Of course, we didn't know Lincoln Riley was this.
Oh yeah, we didn't know what we were getting exactly, but yeah.
But this time we do. This is going to be a massively important. No culture change.
Somebody got to fix that defense.
Type of a hire for Oklahoma. I just believe that Oklahoma, presuming that Lincoln can sustain the offensive culture, that OU remains a top 5 to top 8 type offense year in and year out. They don't have to be Alabama good or LSU or SEC good defensively, but they've got to be obviously much better than they are to complement such a dynamic offense. Sure. And we were talking before the segment began, you and I, about that the footprint of recruiting, that these phenomenal interior defenders and these front 7 superstars that you see populated throughout the SEC. Where do they come from? Most of them come from the SEC region. And so there's that built-in advantage for those teams and for Alabama.
That's right.
And like you pointed out, Clemson's third-team guys
making sacks against Notre Dame.
We're just flying off the ball and making plays yesterday in that game.
That's where I am. Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray have played the quarterback position the last 2 seasons as well as I've ever seen it played. You can't play better offensive football, in my opinion, than what OU has the last couple of years. And it hasn't been good enough to even make it to the national championship game.
Right.
And you see it in person last night. The difference between the strength of that Alabama line and really just across the board, the strength of Alabama. You can't move those guys.
Right.
And they've got, there is nobody on that OU defense that's going to start for Alabama. And you would be hard-pressed to find guys who would make it as a second teamer for Alabama. Now, I have no doubt that OU is going to play much better defense soon and very soon. I have no doubt that's happening. I bet they're playing better defense than just about anybody in the Big 12 in short order. They're recruiting that way. I think Riley will make a good hire. It's coming. They'll play better defense.
Right.
But the point you made is, for me, put this up in neon lights. This is the banner headline in 72-point font. The Southeast, these kids, they're producing at maybe 5 to 1, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 to 1.
Right.
NFL defensive linemen versus our region, the Texas, Oklahoma. The region that Oklahoma is going to naturally recruit is giving you maybe 1 defensive lineman who can play at the level of the top 7 or 8 coming out of the Southeast every year. And Alabama, Georgia, Clemson are gobbling those kids up. They're not going to just start leaving the SEC region.
Right.
And I don't see how Oklahoma can cobble together a defense capable of beating what I saw last night. Alabama can have a down year. Clemson can have a down year. They both happen to be exceptional. For instance, what kind of favorite would this Alabama team with Tua at quarterback be against last year's national championship team if they had Jalen Hurts starting? Probably double digits, right? Clemson would be a huge favorite over last year's version where they had Kelly Bryant starting. So these are exceptional teams at the very top this year. Alabama and Clemson may dip a bit, but I still don't see how Oklahoma is going to be able to they won't match it. I don't even know how they're going to come close until the state of Texas starts producing way more Tommy Harrises, or they're able to come up with way more Gerald McCoys. Like, at the moment, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, the numbers are just so great along the D-line. Man, if you can't do it with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, I guess is what I'm getting to, it's going to be tough, even with an improved defense.
Well, I mean, but you're correctly focused on what's going on up front when they need
help everyone.
Oh, at every level, defensively. I would say the one guy, just for the sake of mentioning a local kid, I would say Trey Brown could rotate at corner for
you mentioned
Alabama.
that yesterday. He had a nice little night.
Yeah, he did.
He fought.
I would take Trey Brown over the kid who tried to cover CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, that's a good point. That's fair.
CeeDee
And
Lamb
I shouldn't have put it that way. I'm not going to say that there's just nobody on that Oklahoma defense who could play for Alabama, but there aren't many. Let's be honest. There aren't many. I mean, those boys are tough. They know what they're doing. They're smart. They're tough. And look, the way they took that game away from Oklahoma early, hats off to Nick Saban. Hats off to the Alabama defense. They knew they were in for a fight. I mean, we saw it as the game played out.
Sure.
Kyler Murray was a problem for those guys, even without Marquise Brown, and that was big. That was huge that he wasn't healthy. Kyler was still a huge headache for Alabama, but they ended this game within 17 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, that Alabama came out with such ferocity and such precision tells you that they absolutely felt, at least going into the game, that they were cornered, that they were threatened.
I agree.
And because they don't come out like that against somebody they just know. It's just human nature.
Yeah.
But they were at their very, very, very best from the opening kickoff. And
maybe nobody in sports fights human nature better than Nick Saban, though. I mean, those guys played so hungry last night. They are going for their 5th title in 8 years. I can't tell you how much respect I have for the fact that those guys just continue to. Kirk Herbstreit was saying they were getting into fights in practice leading up to this game. Like, they play with an edge, even though they are the undisputed king year after year. Seeing it in person, I don't like Nick Saban. I don't like Alabama. I don't root for these guys, but you can't help but have an immense amount of respect for what they do. That's it. Look, I have an immense amount of respect for Oklahoma as well. The season they had, what Lincoln Riley's been able to accomplish, and especially this guy we're going to talk about next, Kyler Murray. I think Garen Emig in a tweet right after the game mentioned the grass stains and the way he answered questions. He was a warrior last night. This was not an easy task.
No, he's had an unbelievable career, combining what he did in Allen, Texas in high school, and then the little cup of coffee at A&M, and then obviously at Oklahoma. But I bet he is more physically, I bet he has more of a physical hangover from this football game than maybe any 10 games he's played in his career before combined. Yep. He was, I've got to just say, I was really super impressed that Oklahoma didn't let this become another Southern Cal Orange Bowl kind of a disgrace of a football game. They
showed a lot of fight.
Fought their guts out, outscored Bama, whatever it was, 20-3 in the second and third quarters.
Yep.
And then, we agreed that Alabama, every time Alabama had to have a play, they got it.
Yeah,
every time.
OU's defense was not going to stop Alabama's offense if Alabama's offense really needed it. And look, OU outscored them 34-17 after the 28-0 run.
Right.
But Bama was going to score at the very end if they wanted to. You know what I mean? They easily could have gotten into the 50s. Alabama's offense outplayed OU's defense as everybody expected. OU was always going to have to just come up with some magic to win this thing. It was going to have to be a crazy play at the end. You know what I mean? There was no way they were going to come out and dominate Alabama or even just straight up outplay them. They were going to have to, this would have had to win every 50-50 ball and that sort of thing. But the way they battled back, what you said is absolutely right. And Mike, with Kyler Murray, this guy, we see him getting hit here. The helmet comes off.
Right.
This is a guy whose future is likely in pro baseball. The A's have already paid him a bunch of money. He could have made business decisions last night, and he kept going out and performing like a warrior.
He did. He, And you know, in addition to the physical punishment that he experienced last night, I bet his lungs were about to pop. He looked really, really spent.
Yeah.
Especially in the fourth quarter. But no, I've total nothing but respect for really all of them, because I mean, it was physically, it was a mismatch, and for them to hang the way they did, to respond the way they did, you know, and for Kyler Murray to play like he played.
Sure.
And you know, look at that. I mean, that's just unfair. I mean, the guy. Look at the length on that.
Nobody in the Big 12. And look, and maybe that's what it was. I mean, I mentioned last night in our report, they led against Clemson in the college football playoff 3 years ago at the half. They led Georgia big at the half 1 year ago. I just expected another fast start. But you can't expect that when the best defenses OU has faced all year, Iowa State and TCU, and now they see this. It's going to take a while to adjust to that and get into a rhythm. I mean, that's understandable.
Well, it's one thing in a typical football game to have to make adjustments. It's another thing to have to overcome a complete shock to your system.
Yeah,
because everything is bigger, faster, better than two levels beyond anything you've encountered before. And I just thought that's what OU dealt with. Now, I think if they played 10 times, Oklahoma would beat them once. They'd find a way to beat them once.
That feels
right.
But
I'm talking about these rosters as they currently are.
That's right.
Bama's just loaded. And, you know, Alabama's won national titles with the most average of quarterbacks. And now they got this. This
guy went 24 or 27.
24 27.
And I mean, I know the OU defense doesn't put much pressure on you, but still, with the throws he makes downfield, 24 or 27, are you kidding me?
If you go 24 27 against the scout team, that's a great practice.
He's a ball player.
He is.
Here's the thing: when
he is a much sturdier, bigger kid than I realized too, because you know that's really the first time I've seen.
He'll be a nice NFL player.
He never plays 4 quarters. I've never watched him obviously as intently as I did last night. Yep. Tua is a big kid, a big thick kid, big strong kid who, if not for the ankle, you know, I think he's going to be a real weapon in the NFL.
Oh, I agree. We've said this before, I think, on this show. Likely, this guy's going to be playing pro baseball, but boy, we wish we could see him play pro football because he is just that good and that much fun to watch. And I have very little doubt at this point that he would be a really good pro quarterback. You know?
I'm sure. I mean, there will be discussions. There will be conference calls. There will be. Oh, no, there's no question. But let me ask you this. I mean, Mike Trout, in my opinion, is the best player in baseball. What is Mike Trout doing in the way of endorsements? Zip.
Hey!
Significant endorsements, zip. I'm just saying, if the earning potential on the football side, forget just the income from each league. I'm talking about the big package, total package, big picture of being an NFL quarterback.
Sure.
Man.
Now, that's only if...
It has to be considered.
That's only if Kyler Murray's just an okay baseball player. Because if he's anything like Mike Trout, he's just going to make a whole bunch of guaranteed money. It doesn't matter if he does a single endorsement, and he can play for 20 years.
If he was in baseball, though, what he was in football, wouldn't you and I have gone down the turnpike several times to see this phenom baseball kid?
I'm with you there. I mean, he was playing football at the same time. Baseball people would know better than me. He had a heck of a year this last year to hit about 300 in the Big 12. I mean, he had a really nice year. He's a 5-tool guy potentially. He's got a high ceiling, but I agree with you. He seems like a better football player than baseball player to me. And I think his ceiling is better even in football than baseball. Look,
you have to consider, I would think, he and his dad and his people have to consider the possibilities of football. Although, but like we agreed, you know, when he got his head stepped on and his helmet knocked off, and at some point he might have been thinking, "Yep, I'm looking forward to spring training."
Yeah, I would imagine his mama wants him to play baseball.
I want to say that I think that the worst case scenario in regard to Marquise Brown was that at least that I expected was that he would be limited, maybe 50%.
Yeah.
Worst case. Come on,
he was a lot worse than I thought.
He was 98% limited.
Yes.
And it makes me wonder why Lincoln didn't get him off the field and let some fresher legs.
Yeah, in hindsight,
take a chance.
Yeah, let Rambo play that role a little bit sooner would have been a good thing. Hey, heck of a year for Oklahoma. Only 2 teams still have games to play, and one of them has a kid who went to school right here in Tulsa
Sure.
at McLean, and Josh Jacobs had not a coming out party because people knew about this guy. He led the team in touchdowns, but this was his finest game on the biggest stage he's been on as a marquee player for Alabama. How good was Josh Jacobs last night?
He was a truck.
Yeah,
he's just,
that's exactly what he was.
He's unbelievably physical runner.
Great NFL future.
Great ball protect. Yeah, great ball security.
The ball really well.
Yeah, I know he's a complete back. In fact, I read a piece. I can't remember which website, but it was related to the class or the draft, 2019 draft, and projections on running backs. And they said when it's all said and done, if he comes out, he could be the #1 running back.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Well, think about it.
I didn't know the ceiling was that high, but the way he played last night, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, they only play him every other drive.
I mean, think about it.
And he had 158 total yards. And, I mean, that touchdown run was I mean, Barnes was knocked out of the game for good, and you totally could understand why. Like you said, he's a truck, and it was right down the road. And, look, I don't know about the Tulsa World. Maybe you guys were all over it. I wasn't all over it. I overlooked the kid until way too late in his senior season, and so did all the schools around here. It's understandable. It happens, but what a great story it is. Happy for him and his dad, Marty. I mean,
I wasn't even aware of him until about 2 weeks before signing day.
Yeah.
I mean, I was aware in that Barry Lewis in his notes from time to time would mention, McLean's Josh Jacobs,
and he was putting up some numbers,
and I'd think, holy cow, 12 yards carry, 15 yards carry, but in regard to his sudden surge to being, an A-list recruit, no, that snuck up on everybody. Everybody.
All right, we got one more bowl game tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Oklahoma State taking on Missouri.
Mid-afternoon kick, right? 2:45.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
I thought it was. Yep. I'm sure you're right. You would know. What's in your book there? Nothing. It's all blank.
No, it's not all blank.
Okay,
There's a lot of Orange Bowl stuff.
Here's some practice video. A lot of the talk, I guess. I've been in Miami, so I missed some of this, but a lot of the talk about Mike Yurcich, what he might be up to afterwards.
Yeah.
But this is a game. I get the sense that matters a whole lot to Mike Gundy.
I mean, it should. I mean, it's what I wrote today. Is that if you want to. If Mike wants a couple of role models, take a look at what Matt Rule did the other night. Take a look at what Gary Patterson did.
Both 6 and 6 seasons.
Yeah, you talk about Gary Patterson pulling something positive out of the worst, maybe the worst
bowl game anybody's ever laid eyes on
of all time. But he's 7-6.
Yeah, that's right. It counts, baby. They won the Cheez-It Bowl. It really was so bad it was good. Didn't you feel that way about the Cheez-It Bowl? Like you could not stop watching the Cheez-It Bowl. Right. But anyway, talk about Mike.
It was like if Shaqtin' a Fool was a 3-hour segment, it would be that game, is what it was. But Gundy, I think Gundy obviously recognizes the value of this game.
Okay.
I mean, you're 7-6 versus a losing season. That's the ultimate, do or die bottom line on this game. But I don't know if he even knows how to reach some of his players. I mean,
it's interesting.
Most erratic team in college football.
I don't know what to make of it. I mean, he's been so good for so long. I guess you just have to throw it in with a pile and say, hey, after you've been somewhere 15 years, that'll happen once. But it is strange, and they're just surging so well in Norman at this moment, and it's Bedlam 365 days a year in this state. And I do hope that enough is in place and that he can sort of begin to turn things around from what it was this year. Just refined that consistency that came to mark this program for close to a decade.
Well, I mean,
going forward next year with likely Spencer Sanders at quarterback.
Starting in the spring, I mean, and which spring practice will start in a matter of 12 weeks or whatever it is. And I mean, fascinating. At Tulsa,
Spencer Sanders going to play some?
At Tulsa, at Oklahoma State, and at OU. I mean,
that's right. It's interesting everywhere. New defensive coordinator.
Storylines everywhere.
Yeah. Spencer Sanders going to play some tomorrow, if you had to guess.
What tweet did I see?
Yeah, he tweeted something.
Yeah, he tweeted something suggesting.
But who knows what these kids mean with their cryptic tweets?
I know. He tweeted something. I don't remember if it was the eyeballs or something like keep an eye. I mean, something to kind of alert us all to something possible. That was today, right?
I thought it was yesterday. I thought I saw it yesterday.
Well, is he going to play?
I have no idea what day it is.
I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, I understand and respect.
He should play some.
He should.
I don't get why he wouldn't.
I respect Gundy's loyalty to Taylor Cornelius, but
He's had the whole year, man.
He has had the whole year. I mean, I would really like to go into the spring knowing how Spencer Sanders looks on a game field
against a FBS team.
Yeah, against an SEC
I hesitate
team.
to say SEC teams. You see on Twitter, like Texas A&M people were taking credit for some of the defensive performances in bowl game. It's like, get out of here with that. You're a Big 12. Get out of here with that.
That is weak.
A&M. Well, do you have a pick on this game? I mean, do you think OSU keeps it close and plays really well, maybe even has a chance to win? Do you think they just get their doors blown off? Because, I mean, Locke, the quarterback on the other side, is pretty stinking good.
No, he is. I mean, I can see this being a game structured somewhat like the Orange Bowl, where Missouri jumps out on maybe a more motivated, a more immediately motivated Missouri really jumps on them early, gets out 17-0, and then OSU wakes up and plays catch up the rest of the day. But I mean, my pick for the paper was that Missouri will win the ball game.
Okay, there you go. All right, I have had so much fun with Bill Haston this year. We're going to do it again next week. And it's going to be kind of a best of. We're going to the entire college football season for us will be in the books, and we'll look back and the best and worst of and go through some of that.
I mean, it was and we probably ought to save 90 seconds next week for the preps too. It was a really interesting year for the high schools.
Sure was. Yeah, Broken Arrow wins the state title for the first time in more than 100 years. That is something. So. There's always something. Big Al said this for years. I know we're going long, but Big Al said this for years. I mean, this is just a really great place to cover sports. I'm sure you could say that about a lot of places. But like the Josh Jacobs story, things like that just pop up. I mean, we got a bunch of guys in the NFL doing things. And OU, OSU, always interesting. And OU is what it is. And now we have the Thunder. And
you know what's crazy, too, when I see you next Sunday night? A Bedlam basketball game will have been played the day before. Next Saturday is Bedlam basketball. So, I mean, OU plays Kansas midweek this week. How about Lauren Kruger? He's got it going on, man.
He knows how to win games in
November
and December.
He's the front runner, as we speak, in my mind, for the Big 12 Coach of the Year.
Sure. Well, he's going to have to win some games in that league, which won't be easy. But
totally
he has certainly, and he does this year after year, he's taken advantage of the non-conference season in a way that makes it really hard to leave them out of the tournament. I mean, Lon gets in more than he doesn't. And, and this team, I think, suits him better than last year. I think he was a fish out of water a little bit with just handing the keys to Trae Young. That's not the way he wants to play ball.
No.
This team plays like a Lon Kruger team. So they've been fun to watch so far. All right, as always, we go over because I just love talking to Bill. But you can hear him on the radio tomorrow, Sports Animal.
Yeah.
And we'll be back again to do this next week. That's it for the Rant. Take care, everybody.